What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with Rubiel Mosquera aka Nexilla. So just hours after Italy Pro official competitors list came out, another news started circulating that Rubiel is confirmed for UK Pro, which is happening 1 week after Italy. So in 10 days time, which was later also debunked. So do not get your hopes up, because unless we hear this from either Rubiel Mosquera himself or his coach Francisco Espin, these are all just rumors. And even if we take a look at his recent posing footage from his latest YouTube video, which was uploaded about 3 days back, I'm sorry to say this, but the man doesn't even look close to being in a contest-ready shape based on that physique. It looks like he is more than 6 weeks out. So looking at the timeline and how some of these upcoming shows are scheduled, Rubiel's best bet that would either be France Pro, which is happening 2 weeks prior to this year's Miss Olympia, but that is an Olympia 2025 qualifier. Or he should do a show like Romania or Prague, which is gonna be happening in the post-Olympia tour. And maybe Rubiel just needs more time to acquire that muscle quality to go toe-to-toe with some of the top guys in the world. Now he has a tons of mass, and he's one of the most freaky guy out there. I mean, his freak factor is totally unmatched. But the thing is, he just cannot be too far off in terms of the conditioning perspective as well. Because all that mass, that is of no use if he cannot bring the conditioning, because that just gets lost in the comparisons. So the Rubiel that we saw in Prague last year, that was the best Rubiel to date. But I have to ask a very serious question here. If a 14 weeks camp in the Oxygen gym, where he was training and dieting with Brian Ansley, so if that could not get him peeled up to a point where the judges would consider him for a top 3 finish at the Dubai Pro this year, then that simply means he needs more time to mature. Next up is the physique update of Rubiel Brandao. So this was taken at 6 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia. And we know these guys are changing every few days, especially when they are so close to the show. So I have to say Rubiel must be looking even more tighter than what he is looking in this video. So I am glad to see him prioritizing conditioning over anything else, especially for this year's Miss Olympia. Because the one thing that he learned from this year's Arnold Brazil, where he showed up kinda off, especially in comparison to what we saw from him at the Arnold in Ohio, was that his beautiful lines and his classic structure. That doesn't matter if he cannot back it up with crispy kind of conditioning. So Brandao got the opportunity to stand next to Hadi Choopan and Samson in Ohio. And despite not being as muscular as either of those two guys, he still looked very comparable, because overall he was in a better condition than Samson. So that is the look to beat for Rubiel Brandao for this year's Miss Olympia. And I have to say, with that height advantage that Brandao has, he can place anywhere between 8th and 10th. I'm sure him and his coach Neil Hill, they must be looking to place top 7. But I think we can all agree, the top 7 spots, they seem to be totally locked in. Because we have some of the best bodybuilders in the world right now, who are fighting even for their last spot in the top 6 this year. So we have Hadi Choopan, Derek Linsford, Nick Walker, Samson, Andrew Jack, Hunter Librata, and Brandon Carey. So that is a very good top 7 right there. And we have to keep in mind, we have guys like Martin Fitzwater, not to mention Behrouz Tabani, and Brandao needs to take out one of these top guys, one of these phenomenal athletes, in order to crack top 7. Now he does have the structural advantage over some of these guys, like Hunter and Nick and Martin, but the thing is he is gonna get out-muscled by all of these guys, unless he shows up like 5 pounds heavier than Arnold Ohio, and that too in that same conditioning, then it is gonna be game on. So Samson isn't messing around one bit, as he had closer and closer to this year's Miss Olympia. So these are 5 players on that Smith machine, and using that dead stop approach, that too at the bottom of every rep, especially when we are this close to the Olympia, this close to the show, that is just insane strength. So the fire is burning inside Samson to prove all his naysayers wrong by showing up in the best conditioning of his life. And all the indicators right now, they all point towards that direction, that him and his current coach, Marlena his wife, they are gonna accomplish that. So win or lose, that is a different story. But just showing up better than ever, better than his last contest, that in itself is gonna be one hell of an accomplishment. Especially after all the trash talk that has been thrown towards Samson, especially after his split with Milo Sarcev after this year's Arnold Ohio. So Samson has been highlighting a lot of his progress, especially in terms of his back. And here is another one. So in reality, it's not Samson's back that's holding him back. The judges want to see him close that conditioning gap between him and Hadi and Derek, and maybe Nick Walker as well. So we did saw him getting closer at this year's Arnold UK, and hopefully he is gonna be that package at this year's Miss Olympia. So this will be the first time ever, the first bodybuilding contest of the former Miss Olympia Brandon Carey, where we did not see a single physique update of him, and not just in this prep, throughout this entire year. So he did not show up for this year's Pittsburgh Pro guest posing, and that too for the very first time in many years. And that is one of the major reasons why some people did not even have him in their top 7 for this year's big show. So Brandon's upper half, that is gonna be right where it needs to be again this year. I mean, look how swole he is looking in this picture, and he's moving those 140s with so much ease at roughly 5 weeks out, which is also a great sign. The biggest concern, that is again gonna be about his legs. Are they gonna look the same as they did in 2023? Because if that is the case, then I have to say people might be making a mistake by counting him out. Because the thing is, his legs, they have never been the biggest or the most separated one on the Olympia stage, especially in the last 3 or 4 years. But his upper body is just so damn impressive that he just always finishes in the top 4. So if Brandon plans to compete and perform at the highest level still, he might have to reconsider his training strategy, because he is gonna be turning 42 in a month, and he just cannot expect to win big shows or place high at these big shows by only doing a 14 weeks of prep. Next up is the update of Sergio Oliva Jr. finally getting together with his trainer and his coach, Neil Hill, to get some workouts in. So his road to comeback has officially started, and let's see what Neil Hill can do with this man. So I receive a lot of comments whenever I mention Sergio that his time has passed, and I should not hype him up by covering his updates. So yes, I do agree that he has not performed well at all in the last few years. I mean, that guy hasn't won any show since 2017. But all the people who have seen Sergio in person, they all agree that it is unbelievable how big Sergio really is. And my question is that, what if he finally brings the condition along with that size? I think that is gonna be a treat to watch for us bodybuilding fans. And he might even be able to qualify for the Olympia again. So the last time Sergio stood against some of the top competition, that was at the Arnold 2021. So him and Nick Walker were going back and forth, leading into that show. But Sergio was just massively disappointing at that show. And we have to keep in mind, that was a show that Sergio was planning to win. And even though he had impressive size at that show, he just could not nail his conditioning. So is Sergio finally gonna nail a prep with his current coach Neil Hill? Because it is now or never for him. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.